Good morning, everyone. Let me welcome you all to this Baja 4 collaborative worship service. My name is Bert Meek, and I'm one of the worship associates from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. We of the Baja 4 have been providing these remote services now for the last 17 months. And it's even more clear now when we look at it that from when we began that our four congregations are stronger together. When we began these remote services, we knew it was the only way to worship while keeping everyone safe during this pandemic. We have learned that this format also allows people from across the United States and beyond to share in our worship experience. We even have a young woman all the way from Poland who discovered us and joins us regularly despite the 9-hour time difference. So, at whatever time you are joining us, and from wherever you live, you are welcome to bring your whole self here now. We of the Baja 4 are Unitarian Universalists from across southeastern Arizona. We represent Borderlands UU in Amado, Skyline UU Church in Sierra Vista, Mountain Vista UU congregation in the northwest part of Tucson, and the UU Church of Tucson on the east side. As Unitarian Universalists, we aspire to love beyond belief, and we find inspiration from a wide variety of spiritual, religious, and secular sources. For this week's service, we continue with July's theme of embracing diversity. Our guest speaker today is Alex Capitan, a lay community minister who comes to us from the Berkshires in western Massachusetts. Alex will challenge us to move beyond rigid binary thinking, the kind that places human beings in mutually exclusive categories. They will encourage all of us to genuinely embrace the full spectrum of humanity. By doing so, we will move closer towards creating the sorts of congregations that we want, which are truly welcoming.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to be with you today. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Reverend Erica Hewitt. I invite you to join me in lighting a flame, either in person or in your heart. The chalice, as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. The chalice arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored, because they are beloved and precious in the eyes of the holy. This morning, we honor all the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we each light a chalice in our homes, may we make of our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all.
As part of every one of our Baja 4 services, we set aside a few minutes to remind ourselves that the land which we currently inhabit is stolen land, stolen from the indigenous peoples who first settled the San Pedro Valley over 10,000 years ago. To understand the history of what is now called Southern Arizona, we must recognize that displacement, genocide, and theft of land occurred in successive waves of colonization, which first started back in the 1500s by Spain, then by Mexico, and finally by the United States. I just learned a few weeks ago of the slaughter of the Aravapai Apache in 1871 at Camp Grant in a sneak attack on their women and children led by some of Tucson's founding fathers. Today, we stand with the Tohono O'odham and the other tribal nations as they continue to fight the destruction and misappropriation of their land by America's border wall. The Chiricahua Apache, the Pascua Yaqui, the O'odham and the Opata peoples first settled this land, and they are still our neighbors today. Each nation is unique in its culture and language. Each draws upon an impressive resilience to maintain their traditional life ways, while also engaging the present and helping to shape the future. Let us not forget them.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, breathe the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. And the earth is my blue boat.
My dear friends, in so many ways, we are living in impossible times. So much feels so big and so beyond our control. I want to invite us now to simply breathe, to hold the truth that we are not alone, that here, in this gathered community, we can be held and hold each other. So let's breathe in that truth. Breathe in. Breathe out. Again, breathe in. Breathe out. Keep breathing. And now hold in your mind and your heart the people who are part of this Baja 4 community, the members and friends of Sky Island UU, Borderlands UU, Mountain Vista UU, and UU Church of Tucson, all of the other people who may be watching this right now, and everyone whose lives are touched by these beloved souls. Picture their faces in your mind and send them love. As you breathe in the love that is flowing to you from this community. As you breathe out, send love to others who are here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. As we enter into a time of silence, keep breathing. Keep breathing in the love that is flowing to you, and keep breathing out love to others gathered here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Thank you for that. Don't forget to keep breathing and to keep feeling and sending that love.
This morning, I'd like to share a story with you called Wings by Christopher Myers. Look at that strange boy. Everyone from the neighborhood is pointing fingers and watching the sky. How does he do that? They stretch their necks and shake their heads. Icarus Jackson, a new boy on my block, is flying above the rooftops. He is swooping and diving, looping past people's windows and over the crowd. I don't think he's strange. Icarus Jackson, the flyboy, came to my school last Thursday. His long, strong, proud wings followed wherever he went. The whole school was staring eyes and wagging tongues. They whispered about his wings and his hair and his shoes, like they whisper about how quiet I am. Our teacher complained that the other kids couldn't help but gawk and stare. He said that Icarus's wings blocked the blackboard and made it hard for the students to pay attention. The teacher told Icarus to leave class until he could figure out what to do with his wings. He left the room quietly, dragging his feathers behind him. One boy snickered. At recess, the snicker grew into a giggle and spread across the playground. Soon, all the kids were laughing at Icarus Jackson's useless wings. I thought that if he flew just once, everyone would stop laughing. Icarus looked up, flapped his wings a couple of times, and jumped into the air. He swept through the schoolyard like a slow-motion instant replay. The other kids were not impressed. One girl grabbed a basketball. A boy stuffed the handball into his pocket. Somebody nagged. Nobody likes a show-off. Their words sent Icarus drifting into the sky, away from the glaring eyes and the pointing fingers. I waited for them to point at me as I watched Icarus float farther and farther away. Walking home from school, I knew how he felt, how lonely he must be. Maybe I should have said something to those mean kids. I ran through the streets with my eyes to the sky, searching the clouds for Icarus. He struggled to stay in the air. His wings drooped and his head hung low. He landed heavily on the edge of a building and sat with the pigeons. Pigeons don't make fun of people. A policeman passing by blew his whistle. You with the wings, come down from there. Stay yourself on the ground. You'll get in trouble. You'll get hurt. It seemed to me Icarus was already in trouble and hurt. Could the policeman put him in jail just for flying? For being too different? When the neighborhood kids saw the policeman yelling at him, they exploded with laughter. Icarus dropped to the ground. Stop, I cried. Leave him alone. And they did. I called to Icarus and he sailed closer to me. I told him that someone should have told him long ago, your flying is beautiful. For the first time, I saw Icarus smile. At that moment, I forgot about the kids who had laughed at him and me. I was just glad that Icarus had found his wings again. Look at that amazing boy, I called to all the people on the street as I pointed to my new friend Icarus, swirling through the sky.
Hello again, everyone. It's so meaningful to be with you today. Thank you again for welcoming me back into your virtual sanctuary. I'd like to share another story with you. How does that sound? This story comes from one of my spiritual mentors, the fabulous Kate Bornstein, and it is her version, a queer and transgender version, of the story of Adam and Eve. Here's how it goes. Once upon a time, God was bored. God needed a project. So God created a world. And God made Lilith, but she was a little too much to handle. So God sent her on her way and created Adam and Eve. And God made them a garden and told them, everything you need is here. Go anywhere you please, do anything you want, be happy and fulfilled. Oh, there's just one little thing, God said. All I ask is that you not eat the pretty looking apples on that gnarly looking tree over there. Okay? Well, before you know it, a serpent showed up and seduced Eve into eating an apple. And Eve, in turn, convinced Adam to take a bite. And as the story goes, they were instantly aware of their nakedness and were ashamed. God realized what had happened and came to see them. But God wasn't mad. God was profoundly sad. And I'll tell you why. The reason God had wanted Eve and Adam to not eat from that tree was because it was the tree of good and evil. As soon as they ate from it, they became aware of the binary of good and evil, and they were seduced by it. Once they were stuck on the idea that good and evil is a binary, all nuance was destroyed. All things had to be either good or evil, with no overlap, no other options, no complexity. This, according to Kate Bornstein, was our fall from grace. Our fall was believing that good and evil is a binary, that good and evil are all encompassing opposites. Before this fall from grace, Eve and Adam were open hearted, curious, joy filled, exploring the world and marveling at its complexity and beauty. After the fall, they were fearful, shame filled, closed hearted. The world lost its vibrancy and color. Because of our fall from grace, because we got seduced by the binary of good and evil, we humans came to believe that everything can be categorized as good or evil, as right or wrong, and ultimately, at the heart of our infatuation with good and evil, we came to believe that we can use this system to know what and who is safe and unsafe. And so we set out to categorize everything into these either or binary systems, light and dark, warm and cold, day and night, life and death. And then we tied all of these mutually exclusive sets of opposites back to that big one, good and evil. We decided that light is good, right, safe, and dark is evil, wrong, unsafe. Warm is good, right, safe, and cold is evil, wrong, unsafe. But we didn't stop there. We are so convinced that this idea of binary opposites helps us determine what is safe that we started dividing humanity into binaries too: civilized and uncivilized, Christian and heathen, rich and poor, white and black, able and disabled, male and female, straight and gay. In each case, and these are just a few, one so called opposite is considered good and right and safe and normal, and the other is considered wrong, evil, unsafe, even subhuman. Now, hopefully, here in this space, we can emphatically agree that there is nothing evil or subhuman or wrong about being non Christian, or black, or poor, or disabled, or female, or gay. But there are forces at play, forces that carry immense power, that promote the idea that, in fact, these ways of being are fundamentally lesser than, that they are not normal. What I want to pose to you today is that our purpose as a spiritual community is to work together to defeat those forces, to destroy oppression and violence and injustice, to heal ourselves and each other from the effects of these binaries, to transform ourselves, our communities, and our world. How does that sound? I hope you're on board. So, how can we live into this purpose? Well, the first thing we need to do is destroy the lie that all people can be divided into binaries: rich and poor, white and black, able and disabled, male and female, straight and gay, young and old, etc., etc., etc. The story we are sold is that each of these sets is a question in a survey, and we are all forced to check one and only one box. Whenever we meet a new person, we are trained to make a split-second decision about what they are: age, race, gender. We are stuck on the illusion that this information helps us make sense of the world and helps us stay safe. But, spoiler alert, none of these binaries are true. Let's take black and white. That one's clearly untrue, right? Are all people either black or white? No. Black people exist and white people exist, but there are also people who are both black and white and people who are neither black or white. There are multiracial people, Latinx people, indigenous peoples of all hues, Asian Americans, Arab Americans, and so many more. Plus, not all black people have the same experience of blackness, and not all white people have the same experience of whiteness. So, black and white, or even person of color and white, is a false binary. Make sense? Okay, so there's a lot more complexity within humanity than just white or black, able or disabled, rich or poor, sure. But male and female, that one's solid, right? Everyone's either female or male. It's one of the foundational ways we make sense of our world. Actually, it's a lie. And I'm not just talking about the fact that some people who are raised as boys identify as women, and some people who are raised as girls identify as men. Oh no. I'm talking about biology. The truth is, biological diversity is a simple fact of this world. Because of natural biological variation, between 1 in 100 and 1 in 50 human bodies differs from what's generally considered typical for females and males. That's massive. Even if we just look at what's considered the epitome of biological sex, our external genitalia, for about every 1 in 2,000 births, someone looks to see whether the baby is female or male and simply can't tell. To put this number in perspective, about 1 in 2,000 people in this country is a member of a UU congregation. So having non-standard genitalia is just as common as Unitarian Universalism. And we might be a small religion, but we definitely exist. The gender binary of male and female is a lie. And that's just biological sex. The gender binary is so much bigger than that, right? The gender binary tells us that not only do all people come in two separate biological models, but also that all people with model M factory settings identify as men, are masculine in every possible way, and are attracted to women. We're told that there's a universal experience of maleness, that all of these people have short hair and are emotionally unexpressive and only care about sports and small engine repair. Thank you very much. Is this true? No, it's a lie. I'm not a man or a woman. I don't know if it has anything to do with my biology, but what I do know is that my authentic self, down to my toes and down to my soul, does not fit into this gender binary we've all been taught and pressured to conform to. I'm a genderqueer, gender fluid, flamboyantly masculine and feminine all at one time, neither here nor there, Mary Martin as Peter Pan, bow tie flashing, motorcycle riding, roller derby playing, femme boy. It's just who I am. But in order to be myself, I had to reject the lie that said there are only two ways to be in this world. And in order for me to survive and thrive, I need other people to be willing to unlearn the lie that everyone is either or and affirm that I and thousands of other people like me exist. Are you willing to do that? I hope so. Because I believe the first way we can live into our purpose as a spiritual community and work to create a world free from oppression and violence is to unlearn the lies that keep us from being in touch with the full complexity of our world, of each other, and of our own selves. All right, so the second thing that we need to do to live into this purpose is to destroy the binary of us and them. Now, the primary way religion has been seduced by the binary of good and evil is by setting up a binary between us, those of us with certain beliefs, those of us in this particular digital room, and them, those who have different beliefs, gather in a different space, and so on, right? The practice of transforming our understanding of us and them is actually what the Welcoming Congregation program is all about. That's the program that UU congregations can go through to intentionally increase their welcome and inclusion of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people. Now, a lot of congregations doing this work focus on those people out there. They talk about welcome as if it's something we need to do for them. But being a welcoming congregation isn't about them, it's about us. It's about what our definition of us is. And it's about what we're willing to do to transform that definition. The Welcoming Congregation program was started in 1990 because our denomination's values around welcome were not being practiced when it came to gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. Assumptions and beliefs about LGBT people that were an ingrained part of our larger culture were being unconsciously perpetuated in our congregations. Now, this was a little shocking because we thought of ourselves as one of the good religions. After all, we'd been ordaining LGBT people for years and had passed a resolution supporting same sex services of union. But most UUs still had an expectation that their kids would grow up to be straight, that their minister would be straight. LGBT people weren't bad and wrong, but they were still them, not us. We learned that real welcome takes hard work. It takes actively fighting cultural messages about what and who is normal and right and most valuable. And it also takes transforming the idea that we are straight, that straight is the default here. You see, the transformation we were invited into wasn't from gay people are bad to gay people are not bad. It was from gay people are them to gay people are us. It was from we welcome gay people to we are people of all sexual orientations. Do you feel the difference? At its best, being a welcoming congregation invites us to practice redefining our understanding of who we are. It offers us the chance to see this practice as part of our purpose as a community, growing our understanding of us wider and wider until eventually every living thing is us and there is no longer any them. Can you imagine that? The last time I visited you all back in the fall, I shared that even though I was raised in Unitarian Universalism and this faith has given me so much, in more than 3 decades of being a UU, I have never found a UU congregation where I felt as though I was fully part of the us. Why? Because even though Unitarian Universalism has transformed its understanding of who we are with respect to one aspect of who I am, there are so many other factors. Let's think about it together for a minute. When we say we today, who do we mean? As Unitarian Universalists in general, as Arizona UUs, or as people who are part of your particular congregation? When we say us, who comes to mind? What sort of people are we? What are the unspoken assumptions about who we are? And more importantly, who we aren't? How old are we? Where did we grow up? How much education have we had? What sort of jobs do we work? What race are we? How much money do we have? How able are our bodies and minds? How did we vote in the 2020 election? What do we think about God? Every community has unspoken answers to these questions and 100 more. Every community draws a line, and we are inside of it. They are not. The reason this matters is that our definition of us is what dictates the boundaries of the circle of belonging. We communicate who we are in 1,000 conscious and unconscious ways, and it translates directly into who does and doesn't feel welcome, belonging, home in this space. The kind of transformation that will be necessary in order for me to feel a part of us goes way beyond sexual orientation and gender. But being queer and trans has everything to do with it. Queer and trans people, my people, are so much more likely to also be low income, disabled, and HIV positive, more likely to have experienced trauma, abuse, violence, homelessness, and incarceration, more likely to be suicidal, more likely to be polyamorous and kinky. I need a spiritual community where our definition of we extends to all queer and trans people, not just a select few. Does that make sense? Do you want to be a place where me and my people are a part of your definition of us? I really hope so. And I think you do, which is why I'm still here. It's my faith that Unitarian Universalism can get there, that the good people of this religion want to live into the promise of this faith that has kept me here so far. You see, we're not called to passively open our doors to a group that we think of as them. We are called to transform our understanding of us, to destroy the binary of us and them. And this isn't something that can happen internally, individually, in your head, right? Expanding our definition of us takes external change, communal change, change that grows from your heart. It takes practice. It takes transforming the way things are done around here, how we worship, who's in leadership, how we show up for each other, and so much more. And that's not always going to be comfortable. But here's the thing. This journey of breaking down the binaries of gay and straight, female and male, black and white, us and them, good and evil, it's a journey of healing, of resistance, of saying no to shame and saying yes to life in all its beautiful, messy, fabulous complexity. The temptation is to be seduced by the binary of good and evil and think that we are either good or bad, as individual people or as a church. But it's not about being good or bad, and it's definitely not about avoiding discomfort or shame. It's about practicing affirming the kaleidoscopic nature of humanity, practicing getting uncomfortable and feeling like it's safe to be uncomfortable, practicing allowing ourselves to feel curious without feeling shame at the fact that we still have more to learn. We're never done learning. We're never done growing. We're never done practicing. That's why we're here. We're here to say there is more to life than good and bad, right and wrong. So, as we navigate this culture of binaries, my charge to you all today is to resist the seduction of binary ways of thinking and question the definition of us. What is the next way you can expand the circle of belonging? What piece of you do you keep quiet about here because it doesn't feel like it quite fits? What can you do to learn and share more about the other differences that already exist here, but have stayed hidden beneath expectations about who's here and who's not? We are called, as UUs, to be more than simply friendly and good people. We are called to practice transformation and take that practice out into the world. So thank you for joining me in this practice, because it is truly one of the most holy, life-changing, and world-changing things that we can do together. Amen, Ashe, Aho, and blessed be. Our closing words this morning come from Marge Piercy and her poem, The Low Road. What can they do to you? Whatever they want. They can set you up, they can bust you, they can break your fingers, they can burn your brain with electricity, blur you with drugs till you can't walk, can't remember. They can take your child, wall up your lover. They can do anything you can't stop them from doing. How can you stop them? Alone you can fight, you can refuse, you can take what revenge you can, but they roll over you. But two people fighting back to back can cut through a mob. A snake dancing file can break a cordon. An army can meet an army. Two people can keep each other sane, can give support, conviction, love, massage, hope, sex. Three people are a delegation, a committee, a wedge. With four, you can play bridge and start an organization. With six, you can rent a whole house, eat pie for dinner with no seconds, and hold a fundraising party. A dozen make a demonstration. 100 fill a hall. 1,000 have solidarity and your own newsletter. 10,000 power and your own paper. 100,000 your own media. 10 million your own country. It goes one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again after they say no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean. And each day you mean one more. My dearest friends, as you go forth from here today, take courage, take heart, resist binaries, transform your heart, expand the circle. As we extinguish our chalices, may we each carry the flame forward into our day, our week, and beyond. Go in peace. Go in love.